Hello friends, I am Rahul Pote. Today we will going to discuss on TYBSC Computer Science subject Internet Programming part first. Previously it was called as a PHP, but since syllabus was changed from last 3 or 4 years, that time PHP name is going to change to the Internet Programming. It is divided into two parts. For our this semester we have to see the part first. We knows that PHP is the one of the scripting language which is used to develop the websites. For that purpose, to write the script it is used. So we have to see this one in this semester. It has 6 number of chapters there. First one is that introduction to web techniques. Second one is that function and string. Third one is that array. Fourth one is that uh, introduction to object oriented programming. Fifth one, files and directories. And the last chapter of this semester is nothing but there is database using the PostgreSQL. So let us start with it. We have to move towards the our chapter number first of this semester. First, very well welcome to all of you. Heading of this chapter is introduction to web techniques. Within this we have to see 6 important major points. First one is that there is a HTTP basics. Within that we have to see there is web server, web browser, and the overview of web applications. Our second topic is introduction to PHP. Next one is that there is a what does PHP do. Next one is lexical structure. Within that there is a statement, comment, literals, identifiers, keywords, and much more we have to see. After that we have to move towards the language basics. We know that when we going to study any language, that time there is a role of data types, variables plays an important role. There is expressions, operators, and last one is that flow control statement. These are the points we want to cover in this chapter. So when we going to see it, we have to see one by one. So our first point is that introduction. We know that the concept of internet or the web, basically called as, it is nothing but the massive distributed client server information system. Means it is depend on server and browser. Many applications are running concurrently over the web, such as there is browsing, surfing, emails, file transferring, audio, video streaming, and so on this internet. In order to take place proper communication between the client and server, this application must agree on specific application level protocols like the HTTP, FTP, SMTP, POP, and more than it. World Wide Web, that is WWW, it is distributed client server architecture in which client using a browser can access service using a server. Here the server that contains the web pages that are accessed by different clients. However, the services provided by the server is distributed over many locations called as sites. We traditionally called as website here. So web technology provides the platform for effective communication among the users and the devices in the computer network. We know that there is website. It is the collection of web pages, that is the documents that are accessed through the internet, called as generally website. So for that, important is HTTP protocols. We know that the protocol is nothing but the set of rules and regulation. Here we have to see our first point, HTTP. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. When client and server wants to communicate with each other, they use the languages of communication. That is the protocol, and that is the HTTP. HTTP is the most popular application layer protocol used in the internet. As previously I have said, HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. HTTP is the foundation of modern web. It is the heart of web. HTTP is stateless protocol. That is, HTTP supports only one request per connection. Means for one connection there is only one request. This means that HTTP client connects to the server to send one request and then it disconnects. This mechanism allows more users to connect to given server over a period of time. Here there is a client. It is also called as HTTP client. Here there is server. It is also called as a HTTP server. Communication by sending messages. Here client send the request message, that is the HTTP request, to the server. When that request is arrive at server end, server respond to it, and that is called as HTTP request, as shown in figure. Here there is a browser and there is a server and HTTP request and response. Here there is HTTP message, that is HTTP request. First line, the header of is called as request line, as shown in figure here. Then there is body. Here there is get method. HTTP request body is empty. With the post method it contains some additional data, but here there is, in example, there is get method. Then there is a response from server. Web server receives the request and process and it sends the response back to the client browser, as shown in this figure. So after seeing HTTP, now we have to see web server and web browser. We know that web browser is commonly referred as a browser, that is the software application which is used to retrieve, present, traverse information sources on the web or World Wide Web. A browser is user agent for the web. It displays the user request web page and provides the numerous navigational and configurational features. Web browser also implement the client side of HTTP. Thus, in the context of the web, we will interchangeably use the word browser in the client. Browser is consist of basically three parts there. There is controller, that is it receives the input from the keyboard or the mouse and uses the client programs to access the document. After the document has been accessed, the controller uses one of the interpreters to display the document on the screen. Second part of browser is client protocol. The client protocol can be one of the protocol described previously, such as FTP or HTTP. Third part of a browser is interpreter. The interpreter can be HTML, Java, JavaScript, depending on the type of document. We discuss use of these interpreters based on document type later in the post end. Popular web browsers, we know that few examples of its, there is Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome is now too much famous, Opera, Safari there, and much more. In browser there is URL, means uniform resource locator, where uniquely identify a resource over the web. Means we write the URL like there is HTTP colon double slash and we put the website name like there is a www.google.com. Our next point is that web server. We know that web server is the collection of files called as web pages. Web pages may contain hyperlinks which point to other web pages. These web pages or websites reside on the computer known as web server. Web server interacts with the client through the web browser, processes request sent by client. Primary function of web server is to store, process and the deliver the web pages to the clients. The communication between client and server takes place using hypertext transfer protocol, that is HTTP. Pages delivered are mostly frequently in HTML documents, which may include images, style sheets, scripts, in addition to text content also. The function of typical web server is that to response for the client request. Here in the figure shown, user request the web pages, web server finds the web page file in a local directory and sends back to the user. When graphic files are requested, the same thing happens. The web server finds requested graphic files and that sends them back to the user. Then we have to look towards the our major point, PHP. Before starting PHP, we have to look towards the web applications. Web application or web app is the software that runs on web browser that creates browser supported programming languages such as combination of JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and other than. Web pages is the web document that is suitable for the World Wide Web, as we have discussed before it. HTML stands the hypertext markup language. HTML is the primary markup language and it is used for the web pages. So here there is a static web page and dynamic web page. Static web page, sometimes it is called as a flat pages or stationary pages. That is the web page that is delivered to the user exactly as stored. And dynamic web pages, the contents of dynamic web page are the different time every time. Why? Every time the browser displays it, like Yahoo, Google. Basically, Yahoo is the best example of dynamic web pages. So now we have to see the introduction to PHP. We know that PHP is the server-side scripting language which is used to create dynamic web pages. The long form of PHP is hypertext preprocessor, which is recursive. Previously it was called as personal home page, but it is hypertext preprocessor. PHP file can contain the text, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP code also. PHP code is executed on the server. The result is returned to the browser as a plain HTML. PHP file have extension .php. Like C, there is a extension .c. Same way in PHP there is .php. At the end there is extension. We know that script is the set of programming instructions that is interpreted at a runtime. A scripting language is a language that interprets scripts at runtime. The purpose of script is to enhance the performance. Here the server side scripts interpreted on the server, while client side scripts that are interpreted on client application. There are few common uses of PHP, but before that we have to see the PHP applications. There is a facebook.com, yahoo.com. These are the best examples of PHP applications. And PHP is cross platform. Why it is cross platform? Means it is run on open source like Linux, Unix, Ubuntu, and same way in the Windows platform also. Here the question may arise, why PHP? Before that we have to see the common uses of PHP. PHP can handle the form, that is it gathers the data from files, it save to the data to the file. Through the email you can send the data, it access the cookies variable, it set the cookies. PHP performs the system functions like there is create, open, read, write, and close also. Also PHP used to encrypt the data. We can add, delete, modify elements within our database through the PHP. In PHP You can restrict user to access some pages of your website. These are the common uses of PHP. Here the question arises, why PHP? We know that PHP runs on various platforms, as before I have told, that is cross platform. It is run on Windows, Linux, Unix, Mac OS, X, etc. It supports for the many databases including MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle, Sybase, Informix, and Microsoft SQL Server also. PHP is easy to learn, runs efficiently on the server side. It is compatible with almost all servers as using today, that is Apache, ISS. Now we have to see the features of PHP. We know that PHP is used for the dynamic web pages. It is better, faster, easy to learn. It is written in procedural object oriented by using hybrid of two methods also. The performance of PHP is the fast. Database connectivity, it may support many databases like MySQL, Oracle, Database 2, PostgreSQL. It supports to the existing libraries like sending email, XML parsing. It is portable. It support on all major operating system like Windows, Mac, OS, Linux. It supports to the object oriented, means it has the similar syntax as that of C++ and Java also. So before studying lexical structure of PHP, we have to see the how exactly working of PHP. PHP scripts reside the server, process the PHP script and PHP engine. The flow of processing is like that: client side user send the HTTP request, web server invoke PHP web pages through the web browser. A web browser PHP engine executes the script. If the PHP file contains both PHP and HTML parts, only PHP part is interpreted by PHP engine and the HTML will remain same. PHP engine then interprets the PHP script and send the generated output as a plain HTML format to the browser. Web browser then display HTML document to the user. We have to see the history of PHP. We know that PHP was written in C programming language by Rasmus Ledorf in 1994 for use in the monitoring his online resume related to share the personal information. For this reason, PHP originally stood, as I have told you before, personal homepage. Ledorf combined the PHP with its own form interpreter, releasing the combination publicly, generally referred as PHP 2.0 in 8 June 1995. Two programmers, Joe Suraski and Andy Gutmans, rebuilt the PHP core, releasing the updated result of PHP in 1997. The acronym was formally changed to the PHP Hypertext Preprocessor. At this time, this is the example of a recursive acronym where the acronym itself is in its own definition. In 1998, PHP 3 version was released and that was widely used version. After that, in May 2000, PHP 4 was released. After that, PHP 5 was released in 13 July 2004. After that, PHP 5.2 released in 2 November 2009. In 30 June 2009, PHP 5.3 was released. In 1st March 2012, PHP 5.4 was released. After that, in 20 June 2013, PHP 5.5 was released. In this way, so on, PHP is going to in its building mode. So now we have to see the lexical structure of PHP. We know that lexical structure of programming language is the set of basic rules that governs how you write the program in that particular language. A PHP program consists of tokens. We know that token is the smallest unit of program, such as there is a number, there is string, variables, constants, operators, delimiters, and keywords, etc. So first point of that lexical structure is that case sensitivity. Case sensitivity words can differ in meaning based on the differing use of uppercase and lowercase letters. We know that words with capital letters do not always have the same meaning when written in lowercase letters. We know that PHP is case sensitive language. The names of user defined classes and functions as well as built-in constructs and keywords are case insensitive, means not sensitive. These are equivalent. But in other hand, variables are case sensitive in PHP. When we talk about statements and semicolons, statement is collection of PHP code that does something. A compound statement uses the curly brackets and at the end there is a semicolon, and in separate simple statements also there is at the end semicolon, but in compound statement sometimes at the it uses the curly brackets to mark the start and the end of statement. In this case semicolon is not required after closing bracket. Semicolon is not required for the last statement of PHP code. Note that here semicolon is not required for last statement of PHP code. That is before closing PHP tag, there is no need of semicolon. But in traditional way, it is the good practice to include optional semicolons as they make easier to add code later. So after every statement we will give semicolon, no problem there. Then comments. When we write the comments or give the comments are used to give the information to the people who read your code, but they are not interpreted by engine. PHP supports like C, C++, Unix shell style, that is Perl style comments. Means single line comments are represented by double forward slash or hash also, and for the multi-line comments begin with forward slash followed by an asterisk, traditionally called as star in our own language, but it is asterisk. Everything after that until it encounters an asterisk followed by forward slash, it is considered as a comment. Means in forward slash and asterisk, within that particular one everything is written, that is act as a comment. Next point is that literals. We know that literal is a data value that appears directly in program. For example, like 100, true, null, or the hello. These are the examples of letters. Next one is that identifier. We know that identifier is the simple name in PHP that are used to name variables, function, constant, and the classes. Variable names always start with dollar sign. These are the case sensitive. Function names that are not case sensitive, and function name refer to the same function. Class name follow the standard rules for PHP identifiers and are not also case sensitive. Now next one is that uh, building blocks of PHP. We know that when we going to write any code in any language, the important point is that there is a data types. Basically it is the building blocks of PHP or any language. Data type is defined as a set of values and allowable operations on those values. The data type determines the operation that you can perform on it. PHP supports 8 types of data types. 1 are scalar types, that is integer, float, string and boolean, and 2 are the compound types, that is array and object, and there are more to special data types in PHP, that is resource and null. Here the integer examples are given. Integer is like 1 comma 2, floating points number 1.5 2.3, strings is encoded in a double quote, boolean means that is true or false. Variables, we know that, as I have told you before, that variables in PHP are identifiers prefixed with a dollar sign. Then our next point is that arithmetic operations. In this there is a addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulus sign is given there. Then next point is that flow control statements. This is the last point of this sessions. Mm, we knows that if is the statement that checks the truthfulness of an expression. Means if the expression is true, it evaluates the statement to specify an alternative statement to execute when expression is false. Use there is else statements. If statement allows you to make the decision based on one or more conditions and execute a piece of code conditionally. The syntax of if statement is if in bracket there is a expression and statement after that. Here example is given. Here we have declare one variable $t, function is taken date, uh, in double quote there is h. Here condition is take if variable $t is less than 20, we have to print echo have a good day. Means if this expression is true, then it will print have a good day. Next one is that switch statement. Why switch is used? We can use if statement to choose one of the many alternative, but as the number of alternative increases, the complexity of such program is also increases. Thus, to make it simpler, PHP like a C support to the multi-way decision statement known as switch. Switch statement is used to compare the value with multiple cases or multi values. All statements in matching cases are executed up to the first break keyword. If none match the default given, all statements following the default keyword are executed up to the first break keyword. And syntax of switch is that switch in bracket variable open curly bracket case value 1 block of code break, then case 2 block of code break, and finally there is a default and default code block. Here the example is given. Dollar favorite color, fa color dollar equal to red. Pass this variable in switch. Cases are taken. First one is that red, then print your favorite color is red. If not it is, then default is taken. Your favorite color is neither red, blue nor green. Our next statement is while. We know that while is the loop. While loop is simplest entry control loop. while loop execute block of code until the some certain condition is met. Example is given here. Dollar $x equal to 1 while dollar $x less than equal to 5 means this block is continuously executed up to which x less than equal to 5 condition is not met. Next one is that do while loop works same as a while except that expression is evaluated at the end of each iteration. PHP also supports the do while loop which takes the uh, do then code of block and finally while condition. Use do while loop to ensure that loop body is executed at least one. Here example is given. Dollar $x equal to 1, then do echo number is dollar $x printed, then it is incremented by post increment dollar $x plus plus, and while condition is taken x is less than or equal to 5. Next one is that for loop is the same like while, but it is shorter and easier to use. It is also an entry control loop. The expression initialization is evaluated once, that is at the beginning of for statement. Example is for first one is that initialization, then condition and increment or decrement as shown in example. For dollar $x equal to 0, that is initialization. Dollar $x less than equal to 10, it is increment, sorry, it is the condition. And finally dollar $x plus plus, it is the increment. The number is dollar $x means x is incremented or printed up to condition is met, that is x is less than or equal to 10. And our final point is that exit and return. We know that the exit statement ends execution of script as soon as it is reached it outputs statement and terminates the current script as given in example. Suppose echo we have print q, and when we want to return from that or exit from this, we have taken there is a return. So friends, I hope that you have understand all these points. If uh, you have any questions in your mind, you can contact to me. I will definitely try to give your answers. Thank you.